Welcome to Let the Boys Kiss, the creation of queer ships, where we ask the question, is it queer baiting, queer coding, or queer canon?
This week, we'll be discussing Charles Rowland and Edwin Paine from Dead Boy Detectives. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kelsey. Surprise, this isn't what we said we would do at the end of the last episode.
That. We had some technical difficulties with Fortnite, so hopefully maybe someday we'll get back to that, but for now, this is what you're getting.
Yeah, Dead Boys.
This was a request from a listener who said that they would like us to do Dead Boy Detectives because, quote, their version of a confession scene healed some of what Supernatural broke, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So here we are with our thoughts.
We were intrigued by that statement.
Very much so, because obviously we all remember the horrors of the Supernatural confession scene and the things that followed the Supernatural confession scene.
Never forget.
And so we thought, hey, we'd like a little healing in our lives.
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. So here we are to discuss Dead Boy Detectives. We are only discussing the television show on Netflix, though this did come from a series of comic books. So who are these guys?
Well, these are Edwin Paine and Charles Rowland. They are teenage ghosts. One is from like the early 1900s. One is from the 1980s. They run a detective agency where they help other ghosts find their way to the afterlife.
Or solve whatever mysteries they are experiencing.
Well, it's keeping them tethered to this plane.
Exactly.
As we all know, ghosts only stay here when they have unfinished business.
So, we will do our usual here where we go through the series and talk about what their whole deal is. Give the evidence, so to speak.
Yep, it's 1 season, 8 episodes, so the whole series is not that much.
Nope. Let's begin. What happens in episode 1?
Well, we meet our two best friend detectives, Charles and Edwin. They've been best mates for 30 years. We come into the show, they're at the tail end of solving some mystery. And when they finish, death comes for the ghost that they've helped, and they both hide because they don't want to get taken by death. And they say that death will never split them up. Charles says to Edwin, I'll never let that happen.
Oh,
Charles is sort of the enforcer, and Edwin is the brains of the operations.
So, we start our series with the case that will carry us basically through the entire season. They meet a psychic who has been possessed by a demon, and they successfully exorcise the demon, but she has no memories. So, case not solved. Charles has some, sparks with Crystal, the psychic that they meet, and he wants to bring her into the fold because she can help them on their cases while they try to figure out what's going on with her. Edwin does not like her. And doesn't want that to happen. And you might be thinking, is he a little jealous of their dynamic? Seems so. So this starts our show because they get a new case and the three of them head off to America together.
Port Townsend, Washington, where we will spend the rest of our show.
A little surprising for a show about two Londoners, but here we are.
Here we are in Port Townsend, Washington. As part of the case in America, Edwin casts a spell, he also does magic, on a cat to get some information. And this angers the local cat king.
Because you're really not supposed to do magic on cats. Everybody knows this rule.
Yes.
So the cat king, who is very powerful, places his own spell on Edwin. He binds him to the town until he counts every cat in Port Townsend.
Or makes the Cat King happy.
Exactly. He first implies, if you sleep with me, then you can go. But for some reason, Edwin's not into that. So then they go with option 2, which is count all the cats.
Well, as we've discussed, he just says, make me happy. And we thought he should have tried different things to make it happy.
There are so many ways to make a cat happy.
Yeah. A crinkle toy.
Some scritches.
Some scritches.
I think there's a lot that might have worked, but he doesn't really go down that path.
No.
So first, when the Cat King is talking to him, he is trying to suss out this whole Charles and Edwin thing, because clearly there's a dynamic between them. So the Cat King asks Edwin if he and Charles have a special friendship.
And Edwin says, We are best friends, if you must know.
Oh, wow. You don't have to do all that. This is a safe space. My kingdom is all about want and pleasure. He is a cat.
He is a cat. Okay, so as part of the case that they're working in America, another important detail in the show is that Charles possesses a witch. A ghost can possess people.
Mm-hmm. Possessing people tips off the afterlife to your presence, and since they're trying to go under the radar, that's kind of a problem for them.
Yeah. So it lets the lost and found department of the afterlife know that they're around. Also, the witch is mad about it. She's going to be here the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So this is the premise for the show. We're trapped in Port Townsend. Edwin keeps trying to hide from Charles what happened with the Cat King, because he's really cagey about their conversation with each other, but he's not letting on anything about what the Cat King might really want from him, I guess. And so we're getting a little more about their dynamic. Charles and Edwin call each other partners, we learn. Mm-hmm. They start to argue about what will happen if death finds them. This is their main fear that drives them. So we have Charles saying, "You always fixate on the worst outcome."
And Edwin says, "You are not the one going back to hell if we get caught. You just move on."
Oi, we don't know what my afterlife looks like. And also, I'm not going anywhere without you. This is sort of the main dynamic of their relationship. They only have each other, and they don't want to be torn apart. And I guess we probably didn't mention before, but Edwin was in hell. So that's part of the reason they don't want to go to wherever afterlife they're supposed to go to. It was an accident, by the way.
Due to a clerical error. He's not a bad boy.
He was sacrificed to a demon by a bunch of kids who thought it was a prank.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. There's still a lot of conflict between Edwin and Charles about keeping Crystal around. Edwin doesn't like her. He says Crystal is difficult, willful, combative.
And Charles says, "Well, that sounds a lot like you, doesn't it? Well, maybe that's why I like her so much. See, we're figuring this out."
And then towards the end of the episode, this girl that they have been helping out ends up saying, "I know what it's like to not want something, or to want something you can't have." And that Edwin does kind of a, like, you know, like, is this comment about me thing?
That's Nico, right? I think we didn't say when we transitioned to episode 2, but in episode 2, they're saving their neighbor Nico from some
like
sprites.
Yeah.
Dandelion sprites,
Dandelion
I think
sprites,
called.
that's exactly what they are.
But now Nico's part of the crew.
Now we've got 4 people in our crew. Isn't that exciting? It's growing every day.
Apparently when you have a near-death experience, you can see ghosts in this world, which is honestly crazy. There must be like a lot of people who can see ghosts.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just pretty normal to know ghosts, I think.
Yeah, you think everyone would know there were ghosts.
Yeah, because even if you hadn't had a near-death experience, anybody you knew who had would be like, so there's ghosts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, I don't know.
Okay, then we move on to episode 3. Charles is still flirting with Crystal. It's making Edwin uncomfortable. We can't escape this dynamic. The case they're working on requires them to split up, and Charles volunteers to go with Crystal, and Edwin's like, "Of course you'll go with her." Always running off together.
Oi, none of that, thanks. We're not always doing anything.
Everything Charles says starts with oi. Okay, so Edwin has gone off with, this is before they go off together. He's been really annoying, and Crystal's trying to clear the air about her dynamic with Charles so that Edwin will stop being all, pissy.
Yeah.
And so Crystal says, "Okay, let's get this out of the way now. Yes, if I wasn't being stalked by my psychotic demon ex," we didn't really mention that, but that's happening, "and Charles was actually, alive, then sure, he would make a fun addition to my body count."
Body count?
Charles says, "She's saying we'd get it on. Shag. Smash." I agree, by the way. Not for nothing, but it is doable. And she makes a weird face at him. But Crystal's obviously going through a lot of stuff, and I'm a professional, so yeah, nothing's gonna happen.
Edwin says, fine.
And then as Crystal and Charles are leaving to go do their work together, Crystal's like, you can think things without saying them. Edwin's obviously jealous. Everyone can tell what's going on.
Okay, so then Nico and Edwin are going to go to the library to look at some microfilm together.
Microfiche.
Yep, and Edwin puts on a disguise. They can also put on, like, humanoid disguises so that people can see them.
Which is quite cool. They just, put on a pair of glasses and then they have a whole disguise.
Yeah. And Nico asks a series of questions to Edwin, all in a row. She says, "Edwin, are you always a woman? Is Charles a woman too? Can you change your eyes and nose like Mr. Potato Head? Do you know who Mr. Potato Head is?"
Edwin says, "Yes, no, yes." and then stop.
So yes, Edwin is always a woman, and Charles is not a woman too, and that's
interesting. And then they never dig into that again. So who knows what that's supposed to mean?
So anyway, they solve this case, yada, yada, yada.
The witch is still mad about them having eluded her. Because in addition to possessing her, which she didn't like, they also took away this little girl she was using to steal her youth, basically. So she's mad about everything. She turns her crow familiar into a human boy so that she can mess with them. And he starts hitting on Edwin. Basically, every man that they meet in this is like, ooh, Edwin.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like flirting with Edwin in front of Nico, and Nico says, oh my God, he's so into you.
And Edwin says, he's a boy, and I am a boy. If anything, he just enjoys ghosts.
Nico says, you do know two boys can like each other, right? I have a lot of manga about it. It's really sweet and explicit.
Crystal and Charles are waiting.
Edwin does not want to talk about it, although this begs so many questions about Edwin's feelings about his own sexuality or sexuality in general. We've had a lot of unanswered questions in this episode.
Yes, indeed. All right, so they solve this case. Charles is a little traumatized by it because it's about a dad murdering his family. We've learned that Charles comes from an abusive background. But we're in episode 4, which is about a bunch of people jumping off a lighthouse to commit suicide and becoming ghosts.
The Cat King is still after Edwin. He really likes him and keeps trying to figure out ways to seduce him. And so at one point he's changing his form to try to find one that will be appealing to Edwin. And he changes into Charles, which Edwin is pretty flustered about.
Nico is continuing to push Edwin towards Monty. And they have a nice conversation about how neither of them has ever been kissed. And Edwin does say, like, I never understood the appeal.
Until lately. Then a lot happens in this case, and at the end of it Edwin and Charles are sort of going their separate ways to relax at the end of the day. And because Edwin has become aware of the situation with Charles's dad, but the two of them haven't ever talked about it. And so Edwin says, Charles, you can talk to me about anything.
And Charles says, you can talk to me about anything too, mate.
And then Charles goes into his room, and Edwin sort of stands there like maybe he'll go after him, but he doesn't.
This was interesting, too, because, like, they all of a sudden were just staying in different rooms with the two different girls.
Which was weird. Why was that happening? They usually spend all their time together.
Yeah.
Charles is going into the room with Crystal, and the two of them decide they're going to make out to avoid their problems. So, good for them.
Yeah.
But then, at the start of episode 5, Crystal's like, we should just be friends.
They're like, okay.
All right.
They're continuing to bicker about Crystal and Charles.
That's all they ever do.
And Edwin says, oh, okay, so we should say that in the last episode, Charles had said that he didn't like being a ghost. He wishes he was alive instead. He wished he'd gotten the chance to grow up.
Yeah, because they all died as kids.
So Charles has said something that Edwin took personally about, not wanting to be dead. And Edwin says, makes sense given that you said that you hate being dead. Of course you fell for a living girl.
Charles says, you've been holding on to that one, haven't you? When I was on that cliff, I was angry. Right. Do I sometimes wish that I got to grow up? Sure. But if it had to be this way, I wouldn't want to be dead with anyone else, would I? You're my best mate, Edwin, and you always will be. So then Edwin is still navigating whatever's going on with him internally. He keeps hinting to everyone about the new feelings that he's having, blah, blah, blah. So he goes off with Monty towards the end of the episode, and they're having a little walk about town. And he's telling Monty that he thinks they shouldn't see each other anymore because he's finding it tricky to navigate relationships. He says, there are these feelings that I'm not used to. I thought those feelings were never to be spoken of, but once you have them, it's hard to hold them back, and that terrifies me.
So you're afraid of your own feelings?
Yes, exactly. And while I don't want things to be awkward...
And then Monty leans in and kisses him.
And he says, that was unexpected.
And Monty says, I have feelings for you, too.
And Edwin says, I wasn't talking about you.
Oh, damn, that's embarrassing.
Ouch! Horrible. Worst thing that he could say.
Poor little crow guy.
Poor crow Monty. All right. Then we get into episode 6, where Monty is putting into place the plan that the witch has to try to kidnap or whatever she wants to do to Edwin and Charles. So he leads them off into a forest that is full of a giant mushroom that can, like, eat them or something.
Yeah. And the Cat King has revealed to them that he's a crow.
Yeah, he comes in to the forest to tell Edwin that Monty has been playing him and he was a crow all along because he still really likes Edwin and he's chasing after him, trying to make something happen.
So yes, Edwin is not pleased that Monty is a crow who is trying to entrap him. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Were you just pretending to be my friend? To get me to feel some sort of..."
At first, yes. Then no. What does it matter? You admitted that you don't love me. Those jumbled feelings that you have are for Charles. He's the one you love. It's so obvious.
What? What are you... Even if that were true, you're a bloody crow.
That's so mean.
Yeah, it's really mean. Again, this poor crow boy.
All right. And so then things are proceeding, yada, yada, yada. And Edwin has come to terms with his feelings about Charles, and he keeps trying to confess them to him. But other stuff's going on, and Charles is, like, interrupting him at every turn. And so Edwin is saying to him, "Listen, Monty unearthed some feelings within me."
Oi, you could have told me you liked him. So this is why you dressed up nice today? And then he walks up to him and puts his hands on his shoulders and continues, "Don't matter one bit to me. This is why you've been acting so cagey about the Cat King, isn't it? He's been trying to get frisky with you? Because I'll knock his whiskers off his little face if so."
Thank you. It's not as simple as that. I've been realizing that and then the night nurse who's been chasing them from the lost and found department appears and ruins the confession. Classic night nurse.
This series of events is probably a really weird experience for Edwin because he all of a sudden goes to this town and every man does hit on him and forces him to confront his
and he has to be like,
homosexuality.
"Whoa, people can be gay? Whoa, I am gay? Whoa, I'm in love with my best friend?"
He's been dead for like 100 years.
Yeah.
And then he just goes to this one place and everyone's gay.
For him, specifically.
Yeah. What a weird little town.
Well, I mean, he is British and in America. People love an accent.
That's true. Also, they're all animal things.
That's true. A crow and a cat. Animals are drawn to him.
A gay crow.
A gay cat and a gay crow. Also, I love that 3 of Charles's lines have started with "oi."
He's really British.
Can't stop. Okay, so the night nurse appears. Basically, they plead their case to her about why they should stay together and why Edwin doesn't belong in hell, and she's kind of moved because of an experience she had in a whale. Or it wasn't
not a whale,
it was
it's an anglerfish.
An anglerfish, a giant anglerfish, god, sea creature. So she's moved and she says, "Okay, the 2 of you can stay together while I investigate this and we'll figure it out." But then all of a sudden, a portal from hell opens up and Edwin just gets dragged right back to hell. And Charles is like, "No."
That sucks. Okay, so now we're in the next episode. Edwin's in hell. That's not so good.
Nope.
The witch comes to talk to the Cat King. She's figured out that she can take the pain of ghosts and also stay young off of ghost pain.
Yeah.
Is that
But
correct?
yeah, I don't know that that's why she goes to him, but in this conversation, she does figure out that she could specifically use him to take his pain to make herself young. And she figures this out because the Cat King is like bragging about how great Edwin is to her. And he says, "Edwin has been through more pain than you or I could ever imagine."
What do you mean more pain?
He survived hell, and when he escapes hell again, I will be waiting for him. God, I am such a romantic. I hate it.
And then she's like, "Oh, sick. I get a lot of
she's
juice
like,
out of this ghost."
Ghost pain is delicious. All right, so this whole episode, Edwin has been running around being tortured in hell and trying to be safe. And Charles has taken Edwin's notebook that where he described how he got out of hell and is basically just like following it backwards to try to get to where Edwin is. But in the meantime, Edwin runs into one of the boys who he knew from school who had been part of the group that tortured and sacrificed him to a demon. Womp womp.
Yeah.
But he's really going through it. He's stuck in a permanent afterlife where he's just ripping pages out of a book and getting paper cuts, and he's pretty traumatized by it.
Yeah.
But we find out in this conversation that he was really going through it too when they were kids, and actually he was gay and had a crush on Edwin. And so he is asking Edwin, "Remember that blue cap you used to wear?
I remember you snatching it off me.
You looked very smart in that cap. But when I tried to tell you, you just walked away. You never spoke to me. I got so embarrassed thinking that we were the same."
Simon, I was nervous around you. I didn't realize.
Do you think it has to be torture, being the way we are?
Listen to me. No, it does not. And although it is difficult for me to believe, I feel sorry. I am sorry for both of us.
So am I. So am I.
I'm going to get out of here again. You should come with me.
I'm truly very sorry for all of this, for what I did. I didn't know. I think this is what I deserve.
Simon, if you punish yourself, everywhere becomes hell.
The headmaster will be angry.
Simon, come with me.
Best of luck. And then, like, blue light appears, and maybe he's gonna not be stuck in hell. Hard to say.
Yeah, is this a universe with afterlife redemption?
Yeah, is it because he, like, learned and grew and changed? Now he gets to not be in hell? Hard to say. But anyway, interesting conversation to see him, like, clearly Edwin has learned and reckoned with some stuff about himself, and now he gets to be like, it's actually cool to be gay, don't worry about it. When 3 episodes ago he was like, what? Boys don't like boys.
But now he's learned boys can like boys, and he's like, oh.
And it's actually fine. Love that for him.
Sometimes that's all the shift you need. You just need someone to be like, no, that can happen. And then you go,
Like, oh, okay, well that explains a lot.
yeah.
All right, so then Charles does find Edwin, and they're really happy to see each other, but of course immediately a giant spider made out of baby doll heads appears and drags Edwin off, and so then they're on the run.
So they almost get out of there. But first, Edwin needs to tell Charles something, and he won't let Charles interrupt him this time. And he says, I cannot believe you would risk your entire existence coming down to this operatic horror show for me. That is so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable.
Sorry, no version of this where I didn't come get you, is there?
Wait, Charles, I'm not mad. I've been hiding some things from you, and since I might not get a chance to say them again...
You can say whatever it is you want to say to me if we keep moving, please.
I love you.
Great. Love you too. Can we go?
As more than a friend, I'm afraid. Charles, I'm in love with you. You don't have to feel the same way. I just need you to know.
Oh, I get it. This is like one of those Orpheus and Eurydice moments, yeah?
I certainly hope not. That story ends tragically.
Right. Never finished it.
Charles, I'm being quite serious. In the event that wasn't obvious.
I want you to listen to me. You, Edwin Paine, are my best mate. That will never change. You're the most important person in the world to me. And I can't really say that I'm in love with you back, but there's no one else that I would go to hell for. And we've got literally forever to figure out what the rest means, as long as we get out of here, okay?
And then they do. And then once they're safe from hell for the moment, Edwin says, Charles, I wanted to say, I'm sorry if my confession created some...
It didn't. You know, we should probably get out of town before that night nurse comes back. I love him being like, it's not awkward, but also we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to wrap up in episode 8, we're doing a lot of like everything's over, you know, kind of vibes.
Yeah. Oh, they've killed the witch.
They're drawing to a close because they've killed the witch, but also Nico's dead, we think.
Yeah.
And
she died killing the witch.
Yeah, so all of that is happening. Well, this is before that, though. While Nico is still alive.
Oh, this is before.
So, yeah, really what's happening is the ending is happening like 10 minutes into the episode because Crystal's like, I've got to go deal with all of my stuff because now I remember that I'm a terrible person. And she has this dramatic goodbye scene with them. But then they all get blown up and blah, blah, blah. But before that, Edwin is talking to Nico about his crush, that she knew he had a crush on a boy, but she thought it was Monty. And he says, I did actually tell the boy I like that I like him.
Oh my God, what happened?
He did not feel the same way. But I think that we are better friends because of it.
That sounds nice, but that also sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so then they kill the witch.
Yeah, everything gets blown up. They kill the witch. Nico dies. It's all very dramatic. And they're going to go off to continue to run their detective agency, presumably. But before they leave, Edwin has to say farewell to the Cat King, who has been a real pal through all of this.
The bracelet binding him to Port Townsend disappeared when he went to hell.
And so now he can leave. The Cat King shows up, and Edwin very graciously is like, we understand each other, basically. He says, you were right. We are a lot alike. We're both lonely. And he kisses him on the cheek, and the Cat King is all, aww. But then, yeah, they go away, and the ending of the season is they're back in London. The night nurse shows up with her boss to take them away, but then her boss figures out that the two of them have been doing great work finding all these souls and ushering them off to the afterlife. And so she's like, well, you guys can just keep doing that, because that's basically what we do anyway for our job.
Mm-hmm. But the night nurse is going to stay with you and be your boss.
Yeah, or at least like keep an eye on them. And then Crystal's also going to be working with them. And then in the post whatever, we find out like maybe Nico's alive and she's living with her sprites, and I don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah. And also, maybe if there had been a season 2, the butcher shop woman would have come to England.
Yeah, they
also
set up a lot of this will happen in season 2, but then there's no season 2, unfortunately.
So that's that. That's the show.
That's the show. All right, so thoughts about them in general, but mostly thoughts about the confession scene, because that's why we're all here.
Are you healed?
I'm intrigued at what our listener felt watching this scene, because obviously with that in our minds watching it, I was expecting it to be requited within the context of the show, because it just feels like that would have been nice. It'd be nice to see the guy do the confession and then have the guy that he likes be like, oh, I like you too. So then it led me to be like, is this just their ideal version of what a confession in an unrequited situation would be like? Because I just don't see the Dean and Cass thing as unrequited, but I don't know. Anyway, it was intriguing. I do think if they had done season 2, it's an interesting dynamic to have to deal with, where they both know that one of them likes the other one and the other one maybe doesn't, or whatever. The fact that he says, like, we've got literally forever to figure out what the rest means is very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that mean to him? Maybe he could be open to it down the line. No idea. So it was an interesting confession scene, but I don't know that it was what I expected given that as the prompt. What did you think about it?
Well, the thing is, we'd also, prior to watching the show or getting to that episode, had been on like the fan lore page. And the fan lore page was particularly unpromising in how it framed.
Well, it was very much like, it is unrequited. And we were like, oh.
And it was like canonical ? And so I was, I don't know, because Supernatural had been put into my brain, I was just concerned that he was going to confess and then it just like wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
But there was a response, which is a step above Supernatural.
Yes, for sure. Response is always good.
Amazing. Impressive. How did they do it? So yeah, I guess it's just that there was a response as opposed to
nothing.
My best friend for a million years died. I'm not going to ever tell anyone how I feel about that.
Just say, Cass, don't do this, and then never say anything else after I cry to myself for hours alone.
Yes. Yep. So
well, I was happy that Edwin didn't get sent off to super hell after the confession, because that happened to Cass. So
Yep. This was them coming back from hell.
True.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. The opposite of the Dean and Cass situation.
So yeah, they're getting out of hell, and yeah, it would have been interesting to see what they did in season 2. It's not, I don't know how much the writers and showrunners thought they were going to get a season 2 to be like, we can flesh this out, but he did respond. And gosh, that's something.
I mean, he made it clear that he still cares about him. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
He left open a door to maybe something. Who knows? So, I don't know. Better for sure than the Supernatural confession.
So, great. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know for me personally that anything could heal me from Supernatural, because it's been like 5 years, and I'm just, sometimes I think about it, it's baffling.
How did that happen?
It's baffling.
But, I mean, to be fair, like, we put so much into that. When you watch the show for 15 years and then it fucks you over at the end, that's hard to get over.
Whereas this is 8 episodes.
So, yeah, it's like we hadn't committed to these guys as much. I don't know that anything they did could have healed us from the Supernatural thing. So, still nice to see some people handle a confession better than Dean Winchester.
God, that was so crazy.
It was so crazy.
And then at the end, when he finds out Cass is in heaven, he just kind of like nods. He's like,
Like, you don't want to go see the guy? Anything?
No. Again, we've spent 15 years watching them like bend over backwards to bring each other back for life and just been ruined when the other one is gone.
Every time Cass is dead in that show, which is a crazy thing to say, but he's been dead like many times in that show.
Yeah.
Every time he dies, Dean gets worse. He's like, first he's just sad, and then he's like really sad, and then he's like depressed, and then he's despondent, and then he's suicidal. And you're just like, he can't handle this guy being gone.
No. But once he found out he was gay, he was like,
wow, that's awkward. Don't want to ever talk to him again.
We were like cousins.
We're like not even brothers anymore. We were like cousins.
Terrible. Anyway, let's not make this about Supernatural.
I can make anything about
Supernatural. This is an episode about dead
Well, we can make it about
detectives.
Supernatural a little, because you know who created this show? Co-created, at least? Steve Yockey of Supernatural writing fame.
Yes. There's a number of Supernatural folks around this show. I guess everyone was like, we got to do this Supernatural show. Who should we get to work on
Anybody
it?
available from Supernatural?
They know about ghosts.
Yep. So we will be hearing from Steve a little bit later on, but first we will hear from the actors about this whole dynamic and what their thoughts are about it.
Yep. Up first, we've got a quote from Cassius Nelson, who plays Crystal. Did we ever say her last name was Crystal?
Well, it's her middle name, actually, because we find out that her last name is surname Von Hovercraft, which...
Hilarious, Neil. So funny.
Anyway, Crystal.
She's talking about the scene where they're escaping from hell, and she says, the scene where Charles and Edwin are on the staircase escaping hell. There's the moment of rawness and vulnerability, which was beautifully acted and felt really true. I think it was a beautiful message on friendship and acceptance and honesty, which I love.
Great.
Sure.
We love friendship and acceptance and honesty.
Yeah, those are all great things.
Absolutely. Here's what Jaden Reverie, who played Charles, was thinking during that. He said, to the end of the series, Charles is dealing with the things and overcoming them, but in doing so, he has to face the problems head on. So I didn't want to half do it with that scene. I took myself to that place that Charles would have been, open to situations. Why is he so, like, everything about this guy is so interesting. The character ends the speech with, like, we can figure it out. And the actor ends his thing with, I'm open to situations. Like, what does that mean?
Yes, I often describe myself as open to situations.
As long as you're open to them.
Yep. And then we have George Rextrew, who, of course, plays Edwin. He says about Crystal, her arrival forces Edwin to hold a mirror to himself for the first time. And because Edwin has been in the company of really just Charles for 3 decades, he gets a little bit possessive and jealous.
Mm-hmm. That is clear. He also talks about how he approached Edwin revealing his feelings for Charles, saying, in that moment, the character has nothing to lose. And so I tried that. But it was definitely one of the hardest scenes to film for me because it felt like there were a lot of stakes. They put a lot of trust and faith in us as actors to convey the story as truthfully as possible. It is, I mean, what the whole thing is leading up to, so it's kind of a big deal. Nothing to lose except your only friend in the world.
Oh, damn. That's a lot.
Oh, damn. All right, so I said Steve Yockey was co-creator. The other creator is Beth Schwartz, and she's got stuff to say about them.
Yes, she says, we get to play around with love triangles that you see in shows with teenage characters. But in this one, we get the added element that one of the people involved is a psychic teenage girl who lost her memories and is being stalked by her ex-demon.
A classic situation.
Yeah. Of course, the other 2 are ghosts who died in the early 1900s, blah, blah, blah. And she continues, you have lots of complications there that are more than just your average love triangle.
Average love triangles are boring. Some of the characters should be dead.
That's what I always say.
And because of that complication, she's talking about, we came up with this really great tone, bittersweet, that connects us back in every episode. We make sure that every scene, every storyline, you get the bittersweetness of the show. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's a coming-of-age story after its main characters are already dead. You have all the fun angst of figuring out who you are, but the context is so different. It's a tragedy. It's tragic. They died as teenagers, and you kind of forget that because they're so fun and living their best afterlife. I'm obsessed with that phrase. I think it should have been their catchphrase for the show. Living their best
tagline.
afterlife.
Okay, and then, as you said, the other co-creator, Steve Yockey, says that all the love viewers may feel between the show's leading characters are, quote, is, quote, an intrinsic part of the show. You want the show to have stakes, and you want it to feel emotionally satisfying, but also emotionally confusing, because you are rooting for different things from week to week.
Had to include that quote because I just love a writer saying they want their show to feel emotionally confusing.
I don't know which way is up.
Do I like these people? Do I hate them? What do I want to happen?
How am I supposed to feel? Who am I rooting for?
Yeah. So, I mean, they've accomplished that kind of, because leaving that confession scene, you're like, how did that go? Good, I think?
Well, it could have gone worse.
Could have gone worse.
Could have gone better.
Yes.
Could have gone worse.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of in the middle.
Yeah. All right. So, as we said, this show is based on comics.
Yes.
We have not read them.
No, but we were trying to figure out, like, okay, do people think what happens in the comics? Are people bringing their knowledge of the comics into their interpretation of the show? We learned some interesting things about the comics. Mm-hmm. One, in this show, they're supposed to be 16. They're all adult actors, so they look older.
They seem like adults.
Yes, but they're supposed to be 16. In the comics, they're apparently like 12 going on 13.
Which is a very different dynamic.
Bit younger. Yep. When we did some, like, Googling, initially, the sources we found said that Charles was bi, but on deeper digging, we could not find anyone citing actual textual evidence that he's bi. There was some conversation about, like, well, he dresses in a way that seems queer, and we were like, I think that's just the 80s.
Fact that he loved George Michael.
Yes. And one Reddit we found was like, well, he's written by Neil Gaiman.
So he's at least
probably bi. And we were like, I don't think that's textual evidence either. But in the comics, Edwin is gay.
Yes.
So that's carrying over. It's just, I don't know that there's anything from the comics that would make you assume that Charles is bi in the show.
No. And then in the show, there's not any evidence, though he does, yes, dress like George Michael. So there's always that. But it doesn't count as canon, though some people did try to be like, he's bi. And you're like, where are you getting that?
Yeah.
If he is bi, I just think the whole thing's so much worse. If he's bi and Edwin confesses and he's like, ooh, yeah, I like
not
boys,
but
not you. And you're like, ooh,
that's sad.
Ooh, that's tough.
That's sad. That's sad.
But yeah, it's a different vibe since they're 12, and it's really more about, like, going through puberty and that whole, as I said, it's kind of like that Stranger Things experience of, like, they're just kids, and then the friend starts to get interested in girls, and the gay friend is like, why are all of my friends interested in girls?
Gross.
Ew. We did find quotes from Edwin in the comics that were like, I can't believe you would think that I'm interested in girls.
Yeah.
I would never accuse you of such a thing, Edwin.
No. Never. So, yeah, that's the text. It's another unrequited love one.
How do we feel about that? I'm trying to think of other unrequited love situations we've had that were canonical. What about, like, Gotham?
Well, Stranger Things.
Gotham is what I think of. But yeah, Stranger Things.
Gotham worked. I think we felt good about Gotham.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know why everyone's so mad. Yes, it's unrequited, but it's very canonical that he...
And you get to really see the after.
Yes.
That's the thing I think that really helps Gotham is there's multiple... there might even be like a whole season after the confession.
Mm-hmm. And it continues to affect him because he's so hurt by the fact that it was unrequited.
Yes. Whereas in both this and Stranger Things, there's not a lot of space for, like, seeing how their relationship functions.
Mm-hmm. I think that they intended to do that with this one, but they just didn't get a season 2. But Stranger Things is different because they were never intending to deal with the repercussions. It was just sort of like he figures out that he has a crush on his straight friend and is like, I should probably move on because he's my straight friend. And then he does. And the straight friend is like, we're still cool, though.
So, yeah, I guess it is nice in an unrequited love situation to not just have a person be like, we're still cool, but to see them work through it and get to a place where they're actually like, definitely
or
cool.
in the case of Gotham, not, because they're both fucked up people. But still, like, how does this affect your dynamic?
It's fine.
Yeah. No, that's what I like about Gotham. It's really twisted and weird, even though it does feel, like, emotionally honest to the two of them.
You know, I didn't find Gotham emotionally confusing.
No.
I followed all of the emotions in Gotham, and I went, this all makes sense to me.
It all makes sense. I mean, they're troubled people, but it does make it more interesting that you're following the through line of like, he loves him, he doesn't love him, it's really messed him up, and now we all have to deal with it.
They're both serial
Pretty
killers.
much everyone in Gotham is going to suffer because of it.
Yeah. That's too bad.
So yeah, it is fun to see the aftermath. I do think that's a thing that is missing in these sort of unrequited love stories. It usually just leads up to a confession and then like, nope. But you're like, how's this going to affect you guys? Because it's one thing to say we're still cool, and it's another thing to be like aware of what's going on.
To show that we're still cool.
Right.
It's one thing to say it. We want you to show it.
Yeah. How are they going to live that?
At a minimum, we want you to say it. See Supernatural. Just
Well, I don't believe
say
that's what's
something.
happening in Supernatural. The writers are just stupid.
So minimum is give a response.
Yes, that is the bare minimum.
But best case scenario, give some space after the
Show us
confession
what
to
happens
really like
after.
show it. Yeah.
Because how's he going to move on, you know?
Show, don't tell. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I can't believe how much I still think about Gotham and what an interesting representation of a queer relationship that was.
Thanks for the suggestion, listener. We never would have watched Gotham.
It was a shock. Who saw that coming?
Thanks, guys. Thanks, as always. We love suggestions.
Yeah.
And it brought Ben McKenzie back into
Oh,
our
Ben
lives, who now
McKenzie.
just fights against
And
crypto.
God bless him, you know? Somebody's
guy.
got to. He's a hero. A real life hero. So yeah, we can't really fault the show because they didn't ask to get canceled.
No.
So it's not their fault they couldn't do the aftermath, and it does. I feel like the hints are that they wanted to make it more interesting than just your normal like, sorry, I'm straight, bro, kind of situation.
Yes, the end line of like, we'll figure
Yeah.
this out.
You're like, what is that?
Implies that maybe they'll figure something
How
out.
are we gonna? And the very end beat of the last episode of the show is Charles talking about how, don't worry, he's gonna be able to get the night nurse under control because his smile is so charming, and he's like leaning on Edwin talking about how charming his smile is, and it's like, you're flirting, you realize that, right? Like, you do that all the time. So what is this? What's this vibe?
Yeah. And also, right, like, to your point, it's so clear that they were at least hoping to get a second season because there's so much setup in the last episode that you're like, they did not intend to wrap this
Yeah,
up.
it's not like,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
the storyline of the first season is done, so you can, it's
Sure.
not like they left on a huge cliffhanger, but they were like, look, Netflix, we're gonna do all this stuff, we're gonna bring the butcher here, and the night nurse is here, and Crystal's in the gang, and like, yeah, and so it wasn't enough, unfortunately.
No.
So yeah, but attempts were made at being interesting. I just think they didn't really get to see them to fruition. Okay. What do we think about the decision to age them up? I don't know what this show would have been like if they were 12.
I think it's for the best. I mean, I think they had to, given what they wrote. If they were 12, I don't think you could do the Cat King thing.
No.
That would be
I mean, the story would have had to
very
be
upsetting.
different if they were that
Yes.
young.
And I assume the cases would be different.
Is it like a Hardy Boys thing? Like, what's the vibe of them as 12-year-olds? I'm kind of intrigued by it in the comics.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of cases they're doing. But, like, I especially would not have liked to see the one with, like, the jocks with two 12 and 13-year-olds
where they're
solving it.
drugging people and sexually assaulting
Yeah.
them? No, thank you.
That's not appropriate for 12 and 13-year-old ghosts who have been alive for 100 years. They can't be exposed.
No, they don't need to know about that. One of them hardly knows what homosexuality is. But yeah, obviously it would have been a very different show in terms of what they did, but I am intrigued by the fact that they were so young in the comics.
I don't know. I haven't read them.
Okay. Shall we talk about AO3 stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the ship, or I guess the show, Dead Boy Detectives, on AO3 has about 7,400 tagged fics, and 4,700 of them are Edwin/Charles, which is respectable for a one-season
for a one-season show.
I think.
Nice job.
So, as we usually do, we read the most kudosed fan fiction, which is called Love You Like That by Patroclus. Tell me about the fic.
So they're traveling back from Port Townsend to England. So the ghosts can generally travel by mirror, but because they've got Crystal in tow, they're taking boats. And so Crystal is asleep, and they are awake because they don't need to sleep at night.
Or in the day. Anytime.
Ever. Yeah, they don't need to sleep. And Edwin's reading a book, and Charles is looking at him, and Edwin's like,
What?
What's up? And Charles is like, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I've been reflecting on my feelings, and maybe I do love you like that too.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then they
But
kiss.
he's kind of like, yeah, they kiss, but he's also like, can you give me some time to figure out my feelings? And Edwin's like, I got nothing but time, so sure.
Yeah. But, it's him being like, yeah, maybe.
He's like, I was thinking about it, and I think I was jealous of you and Monty. And, you know, like, he's sorting through. Because here's the thing we didn't really talk about. And stuff that I was thinking before we found out that it was going to be unrequited. So when I started watching the show, I assumed it was going to be requited, and I felt like that was kind of the story they were telling in terms of how they both were about each other. And so obviously Edwin spends a lot of time being jealous of Crystal and Charles, but I do feel like anytime a guy shows up and starts like being interested in Edwin, Charles is equally possessive of him. Like when Monty is around and flirting with Edwin, Charles is very like, who's this Monty guy?
And when he doesn't know what's going on with the Cat King, he's like, what's going on with the Cat King?
And so I think there certainly is a reading of it that, like, maybe he does have feelings for him that he hasn't even thought about. And Edwin confessing to him might make Charles do a little soul searching, which I think is obviously what's going on in the fic.
And it's also like, Edwin doesn't understand homosexuality because he's a ghost from
1910 or whatever. Yeah.
And I mean, Charles would have reasons to be really repressed if he was homosexual too. He grew up with this like super abusive father. He's like South Asian. There's things where he maybe would struggle to come to terms with his sexuality as well.
We find out that the two of them both went to the same school and seemingly were being bullied by similar types of guys at the schools they went to. Apparently in the comics, they are the same guys. They're like ghosts that murdered them, which is an interesting tie.
The ghosts who murdered Edwin also escaped from hell with Edwin and then became Charles's bullies as ghosts.
What a coincidence.
Which we don't quite understand, but again, it probably makes sense if you
I'm sure it does. But they are like bonded by that and the sort of stuff. Like, I think there's an implication that he's being made fun of for like some racist reasons and other stuff going on when he's a kid. But certainly you could read that like if there were things that were made him different as a kid that he was getting bullied for, this might have been amongst them. But yeah, they could be similarly repressing those sort of feelings. And it also is one of those situations, like, obviously fully making this up now, but like if Edwin is gay and Charles is bisexual, it's easy enough for Charles to just be like, I like girls. I got nothing. I got no problems. Like I'm interested in Crystal and I'm normal, whereas like Edwin is just there left to be like, I don't know what's going on with everybody else. Like, I don't feel the same as everybody. That's its own journey.
Yes.
So you could see how Edwin would figure this out because he's forced to when every animal / gay human man starts to hit on him and he's like has to reckon with it. Whereas Charles isn't going to have to reckon with it until Edwin makes it a thing where it's like, oh, this is a thing I have to think about now.
True. Yeah, so sorry. It's just a shame they didn't get a season 2 and could like work
How
through
would it all
of
have worked?
Possibilities.
Yeah. But that's what fic is for, I guess. Everybody
someone
someone
track down Steve Yockey and ask him this question
Steve
about what season 2 would have been like.
What were they gonna do with that relationship?
Yeah. But in the interim, we have fic, and this fic is them being like, yeah, it was cute, it was short, it was sweet.
Very nice. All right. Well, we don't have a lot of fan and creator interaction in this because it's one of those situations where it's over.
They released the show all at once, and then it was over.
And even if the fans have things they want them to do, they can't do them.
There's no show.
So
short of asking them what they might have done.
But, they're working on other projects now. They're not thinking about this. We'll never know.
Plenty of space for fic.
All right. Shall we ask the question?
Yes. Is it queer baiting, queer coding, or queer canon?
It's queer canon.
For sure.
One of them is canonically gay and in love with the other one. The other is he has an earring and he dresses in 80s clothes. So ask the internet if that counts as queer coding.
Some parts of the internet say yes. So yeah. Definitely queer canon.
So, in that case, if you gender swap the characters, would they be a couple? Perhaps not, if one's gay and the other's not.
Well, if you gender swapped Edwin, sure. If Charles is bisexual, and it's not a case of he just doesn't like it.
He specifically isn't attracted to him.
Yes.
Well, they never really got into the why does he always take on a female form when he goes undercover. That is interesting.
It is interesting. But if they swapped Charles, then no, because Edwin is gay.
Well, who's to say? They still could have ended up a couple in this universe. We'll just never know.
It's true. It's dangerous, though. What if you try it and then you have a falling out?
And then he's like your only person.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
And your detective partner.
Yeah. I don't know what would happen. I mean, I think that seemingly their connection is strong enough that they could make it through, because that's the implication of, like, Edwin feeling comfortable confessing his feelings and Charles being like, thanks for telling me.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
I don't know. Who knows? It's scary, but Edwin is brave for telling him.
Yeah.
Good job, Edwin. And then honestly, he handles it quite well after Charles is like, no.
Yeah. Very mature.
Very mature.
Well, this was the question I asked you. This was my metaphysical question about these ghosts. Okay. So some parts of the internet are like, they're sexualizing children. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Particularly because there's always like romance stuff with teens.
I mean, yeah, that's like an incredibly popular and normal genre and it's not like they do any sleeping with anyone in this. I thought that Charles and Crystal slept together, and then the next morning they're like, we kissed. Ooh.
Yes. So on the flip side, right, like people will complain about Twilight because Edward is really like 100 years old and he's dating this literal 17-year-old. But my question is, if you die and are a ghost at 16, yes, you continue to have experiences, but does your brain stay a 16-year-old's brain in terms of like your frontal lobe development? And so like, what are the implications of that when it comes to questions of like decision making and consent?
It's a very interesting question. Obviously, we don't know the answer. I tend to believe that they can, like, certainly they age and get better at decision making just from having more experiences and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But also, in this case, we literally don't have to worry about it because either thing is fine. Either they both have had many decades of experience living and are basically adults, or they both are still 16. And
True. I think that's brought up more with the Cat King, who I guess is an adult.
well, but he's a cat. Like, what kind of... Tell me about the frontal lobe of the cat, you know?
I don't know what the implications are of that either, to be honest. But I'd never considered about, like, when you die as a child or become, like, a vampire as a child, is your brain frozen in the like state of connections?
It feels like in every piece of media we've seen, they tend to act more mature than they are if they have been alive or undead, I guess, for decades.
But in Interview with a Vampire, right, that's why they don't want to turn the little girl because she never grows out of the impulses of being a child.
Well, then it depends on which canon you come from, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, in this...
And I assume that's why they don't want a little girl vampire in Twilight either.
Well, I think they don't want a little girl vampire in Twilight because she won't be able to control her impulses as a child.
Oh, but she will grow up?
I think she'll grow up. I think that the baby they have grows up.
Yeah, but the baby's half human.
Oh.
That's the whole thing with her.
I don't remember. It's been a really long time since I've taken in any Twilight content.
All right. I just know they were not happy about them potentially turning a child.
I just remember they didn't want her to be pregnant because they knew that it would be really dangerous for Bella, which it was.
Yes, but the Volturi, when they find out there's a child, they come to kill all of them because that's against the rules.
But is it because she's going to be so powerful?
No, when they find out she's half human after that fake fight they have, they're like, oh, this is actually okay. But it's also partially because, of course, Michael Sheen realizes that his head's going to get torn off and he doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, there's always
so
prophecies
there's like a lot going
involved.
On. Yeah.
Well. Who's to say? But I do think that in the context of this show, whatever ethical concerns people have are unfounded.
Okay.
Because, yeah, the Cat King's old, but he's also a cat. So I just really, we can't get into, like, is can he be consenting? I don't know.
Also, nothing really.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Nothing
them.
happens between them. He really likes him. He does him a lot of favors, and then he gets kissed on the cheek for it. And you're like, that was extremely chaste and fine. Everything about that was fine. I'm not concerned.
Okay. How do you feel about this on a queer baiting scale? We said it wasn't queer baiting, so it
not a
doesn't
queer
go on the
baiting. Which
scale.
the fans didn't say it was queer baiting either, so
Sure.
it just sort of doesn't exist on the queer baiting scale because it's not queer baiting.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray! We love when it's not queer baiting.
Yay!
Why isn't it canon though? You skipped right over.
Oh, I'm
well,
sorry.
it is canon, but like, why aren't they together?
Again, we don't know.
They might have been together. Within the confines of season 1. They're not together because Charles just doesn't have romantic feelings for him.
You know what this is like? This is like if I still haven't watched the 3rd season movie of Good Omens, but it's like if they made the season 2 of Good Omens and then they just went, we're not wrapping it up. And you'd be like,
that would have been devastating. That one actually left on a cliffhanger, though.
It did. But like, presumably, have you watched the? Presumably, they do something with that.
Yeah, they don't just not talk about it for the length of the movie.
Yes. So it's the equivalent of they got canceled.
It sucks to get canceled, guys.
That happens to a lot of shows where you're like, what would have happened? It got canceled. Bummer.
We'll just never know.
We'll never know.
Okay. Well, thank you, listener, for suggesting this, because we would not have watched it if you had not. And I am always interested in how people are handling, like, unconventional queer representation. We should say there is more queer stuff going on within the show. The lady that they live with, who owns a butcher shop, has, like, what starts out as a very adorable relationship with this woman that turns into not adorable at all, and she ends up dead. But that's a shame.
Yeah.
And just generally, it's sort of, there's non-straight stuff going on throughout. Mm-hmm. I read a nice little think piece from somebody who watched it and was very pleased with how much it centers friendship and the like that sort of inherently queer nature of this gay kid who's in love with a straight friend, very common experience. The way that Crystal and Charles navigate their thing, where it's like they like each other, they do something, they're like, no, let's be friends, and the fact that they can continue to keep that going and it doesn't become the way that like normal heterosexual breakup stuff is so dramatic. Mm-hmm. And then they also were like, they think it leaves open a window in Charles's response to Edwin that maybe he's like aromantic or on that kind of spectrum, and that's the kind of thing they'll need to be dealing with. So yeah, interesting questions raised and ways to read the show. So yay, fun job, Steve Yockey and Beth Schwartz.
Okay, great.
Any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right, what are we talking about next time?
Okay, so as people may notice, we've been late with some episodes, coming a few days into a month, blah, blah, blah. This is coming squarely out in August.
Because
so
the schedule shifted, baby.
Yeah. It's still going to be every other month.
Yep.
But just now, August. And then October, because we've been doing Halloween episodes, but they haven't been coming
September,
out in
which is crazy.
Month.
They should be in October. Yeah. It's spooky month.
It's spooky season. It's spooky month. So, as you all know, last year we started a series of episodes for Spooky Month about vampires. I can't believe we did Nosferatu a whole year ago.
Time just flies. Wild. What are you going to do?
But this year we will be continuing vampires, but this time with Draculas. Classic Draculas.
You might think we should have started with Draculas because that's like the first thing. But what can we say? We love Nosferatu.
We love 1922's Nosferatu.
So now we're going to the source material for Nosferatu, and we're going to learn all about the Draculas. Now, we did learn that Dracula is basically the character from literature that has been adapted the most times into film, television, etc. So we're not going to be...
More than Jesus.
More than Jesus. We did the research. We're not going to be watching all of the 700 plus depictions of Dracula that we heard are out there. But we will be watching a select few that we heard were the most queer, basically. And also, if anybody knows...
Or just classic.
Yeah. If anybody knows of specific Draculas that are really queer, please tell us. write in, because
Yes.
we will add them to the list. But we will also be reading the novel,
Multimedia.
figuring out how gay that is. Who knows?
We could do that as a fun aside. We could go through that Wikipedia page and just note all the Draculas we just have seen.
True. If we can count Dr. Acula as one of the...
They put it on the
did?
Wikipedia page. It counts.
All right, so that is what we were prepping now. We're very excited for Draculas. I hope everyone else is too. And we will be talking when it's spooky season.
Yay.
Yay. In the meantime, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can reach us at ltbkpod@gmail.com. We're on Tumblr at ltbkpod and have a Discord that you can find the link to on our Tumblr. If you're enjoying the podcast, tell a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe. The next episode of Let the Boys Kiss will be out in October of 2026.